Let's talk about MCP, or the Model Context Protocol. This has been blowing up recently. A ton of people are covering it, especially on YouTube, but unfortunately, most people talking about this have no idea what it actually is, how it works, and how to explain it in a way where they're not going to confuse the heck out of you. So in today's video, I'm going to break down what it is in very simple terms, coming from someone who is actually a developer, and then I'm going to show you how you can set it up inside of Cursor and start using it to build some very interesting AI agents. So with that said, let's get into it and learn about the Model Context Protocol. So in order for us to truly understand MCP servers, I want to make a comparison to something that we might be more familiar with, which is a REST API. Now, even if you're not a developer, don't worry, I'm going to explain what this is, but the point is that we have these things called REST APIs. REST stands for Representational State Transfer, and these APIs are used typically for web app communication. They can be used for other things as well, but the example you'll be most familiar with is a standard web application. Now, when we have a web application, we have something like a client or a front end. The front end is what you interact with as the user, something like Facebook.com or Instagram.com, where you're actually, submitting a form or making a post or viewing comments or something along those lines. Now, when you're using that client, behind the scenes, what's happening is it's sending these HTTP requests using something called a REST API. So we have this server. The server is secure, it's being ran by some kind of company, and it has all of the data for the web application. So when you make a new post, for example, you send an HTTP post request to a particular URL on this server. It then makes that new post, updates the database, and then sends you back all of that data to the client to tell you, hey, this post was successful. Same thing if you're fetching comments or retrieving a profile or something along those lines. Behind the scenes, you send this HTTP request using this API, and then you get the data back. Now, this is a communication protocol. It's standardized. It's something that's used probably tens of millions of times across the internet, and there are literally billions of HTTP requests being sent every single day. Now, the reason why we have this is to set a standard, a consistent way of doing something, one where all developers can just follow this practice, and we can have all of these millions of APIs that work in the exact same way. Now that leads us over to MCP servers and why they were created and how these can help you build really powerful agents. And speaking of game-changing AI agents, today's sponsor, SambaNova, is pushing the envelope with their open source deep research agents and the fastest, most efficient AI inference solution. Powered by reconfigurable data flow units, or RDUs, SambaNova's hardware stack delivers 10 times the performance of traditional GPUs. This means you can run intricate research queries and generate insights in record time, unlocking discoveries that were previously just completely out of reach. And the best part is that this is an open stack, which means you can bring your own models like Llama and DeepSeek and seamlessly integrate them into the most powerful AI research platform on the market. With 3 times faster processing than top GPU providers, enterprises are not only saving millions, but also gaining the competitive edge by tapping into real-time insights across scientific research, finance, and enterprise AI. Imagine a leading biotech firm that could use this deep research agent to sift through terabytes of data and clinical studies, uncovering novel biomarkers that could expedite drug discovery. With SambaNova's deep research agent, these complex cross-domain queries can be ran in real time, something that traditional GPU-based systems simply cannot match. You can upgrade your AI stack today by clicking the link in the description and experiencing the future of deep research with SambaNova. So all of that context brings us to the Model Context Protocol. Now this is very similar to something like a REST API. This is just a standardized way for an AI agent to communicate with a set of tools. So currently, or kind of before this video and before this Model Context Protocol came out, we had all these different tools. And we know that AI agents are really good when we give them access to these various tools. Databases, Google Drive, search features, whatever. But all these tools were implemented completely differently. There was no standardized protocol, so it made it very difficult for us to integrate 10, 20, 30, 40 tools to our agent because it required custom integrations, custom coding, and just a lot of complexity because there was no standardized method. You can kind of think of it like this. Imagine that you had 10 friends that were all experts in different areas, but they all spoke a completely different language. Portuguese, English, Mandarin, Indonesian, you name it, whatever, they spoke all these different languages. It's going to be very difficult for you to communicate with all of these people, and you're going to keep constantly changing languages and mixing stuff up because there's just no one standard way to do it. Whereas if they all spoke English, it would be very easy. They can communicate with each other and you can all talk very simply. That's exactly what the MCP is attempting to do, bringing this standardized protocol to AI agents. So now all of your tool providers are going to write code and write services based on this protocol so they can more easily be kind of integrated into the AI ecosystem and into your AI agent. That's really all it is. You don't need to know all of the details of how the protocol works and the communication channels, but the basic idea is it's just this standard approach that Anthropic has come up with, and now all of these tool providers are racing to adhere to this protocol so that they can be used inside of tools like Cursor, for example, or inside of Claude Desktop, or all of these other tools that use this protocol as well. So it's super cool. You can connect to things like databases, GitHub, Stripe, Notion, Memory, all kinds of tools are coming out every single day. And if you do care about the architecture, you can read more from the MCP documentation, and you can actually write your own MCP servers very easily. There is 2 different transport mechanisms. The first is over standard input-output, which just means essentially running in your local terminal and getting input as a command and output as like text in the console. And then the other one is called this SSE transport, which is actually doing communication over the network, similar to something like an HTTP REST API. And you can see that these can run locally or remotely. So for you, all you really need to know is my MCP server running on my own computer, and is it using this standard input-output, or is it running remotely, for example, on someone else's server like Anthropic server, OpenAI server, or a tool provider server, and there's a different way to connect to it based on this architecture or this transport. If that confuses you, don't worry, I'm going to show you exactly how to set up MCP servers in literally 30 seconds, in just 1 second, but you get the idea, okay? So that's MCP servers. Again, just this standardized way of communicating. Now what I want to do is show you how we use an MCP server inside of something like Cursor to just supercharge our AI agent workflow. Okay, so quick cut here because I forgot to mention this. In order for everything I show you in this video to work, you need to have Cursor installed on your computer, and you need to have Node.js installed as well. Now, you can get Node.js for free. It's just called nodejs.org. So just go to that website and go to downloads. Okay, I'll link it in the description. And then go here to where it says pre-built Node.js, all right? From here, select your operating system, so Mac, Windows, Linux, okay? Make sure you select the correct one. So for example, if you're on the new chips, do the ARM64. If you're on Windows, right, go to x86, x64, click the installer, so the Windows installer, or on Mac, the Mac installer, run it and install Node.js. Once that's installed, then these various commands will work. If you don't have that, you're probably gonna get an error. So I just opened up Cursor here, where I'm gonna demo how to add an MCP server and then start using it from your Cursor agent. Now this will work inside of something like Windsurf as well, and it will work in other settings too. So just because we're using this in Cursor doesn't mean that MCP is strictly forbidden to this environment. You can use MCP with kind of any type of AI agent framework, and as this becomes more mature, I think you're going to see a lot more MCP servers and a lot more companies adopting this protocol. Anyways, Cursor is one of the first ones to make this work really seamlessly, so I want to show you what it looks like, and then I'll show you how to install it. So you can see that I have 3 MCP servers that I've kind of created here, that I've added to Cursor. I have a Firecrawl one, which allows me to scrape the web. I have a CoinCap one, which allows me to get the current price of cryptocurrencies. And then I have the sequential thinking one, which allows models to think sequentially through a problem. Okay, a lot of people were adding like GitHub ones and other random ones. I wanted to do some more unique ones in the video so that you got an idea of how to install these from ones that were maybe smaller MCP servers or less documented. Now, just to show you an example, you can see in my terminal here that I was kind of asking some questions about my Instagram, and you can see that we're actually using the MCP tools, and it will show you like what it's actually calling the MCP tool with. So here's the query, here's the limit, and then it kind of gets a result. And then same thing here for the price. You can see it said, get crypto price. It gave the name of Ethereum, sorry. And then we get back all of this data with like the ID, the name, the supply, the current price, and it shows me what the price is at the current time. So if you have this agent enabled inside of Cursor, then it will automatically be able to use these MCP servers, but let me show you how we add them. So I'm just gonna go ahead and delete all of these. By deleting them, I can literally just delete this entire file, this mcp.json, and I'll show you how we add them. So to add them, you can go to your Cursor settings. So if we close this, there's a few ways to get there. You can go to File, you can go to Preferences, and then Cursor Settings, or you can hit Control-Shift-P, or Command-Shift-P, depending on your operating system. And you can type Cursor and then just click on Cursor Settings, okay? So open up Cursor Settings, go to MCP. Depending on your version of Cursor, this might look a little bit different. And then you're gonna press this button that says Add New Global MCP Server. Now, when I press this, it's gonna open up this mcp.json file. However, if you don't already have this file created, it's gonna ask you to create it. So just create this JSON file and then you'll be good to go. Now from this JSON file, this is where we can add our MCP servers and we can just put them in a list. It's very simple, and I'm gonna show you how you can find MCP servers to then add here. So I'm gonna bring up Google, and what I found is this repository. I will link it in the description, which is essentially a list of MCP servers. It's just a Git repo here, okay? Awesome MCP servers, and you can scroll through and you can kind of find servers that do something that you want. So for example, we have art and culture. We can generate images or videos. We have cloud platforms connecting with Cloudflare, Kubernetes. We have command line ones. We have communication. There's all kinds of MCP servers. I found a few for this video that I will show you directly. And then we also have a directory called Smithery, okay? Now Smithery is probably the most popular one right now for finding MCP servers, but I need you to keep in mind that this is very new. So a lot of these MCP servers either don't work or are not really clear on how to install them. So I'm gonna show you how you install ones that aren't super popular so that you get an idea of what's actually happening and like you know what MCP is and how it's functioning. Okay, so we want to install an MCP server. So I found this Firecrawl MCP server, and the link for this I'll put in the description on this website called mcp.so. Again, it's kind of the Wild West right now. We've got MCP servers all over the place. Some of them work, some of them don't work. It's kind of a bit of trial and error. Now from this page, you can kind of read through what you need to do here. And the first thing that I found is that I need to create a Firecrawl API key. So I went to Firecrawl, okay, firecrawl.dev. I made this API key, and then I copied it, okay? Obviously don't leak this to anyone. After the video, I can regenerate this so you guys don't see it. Okay, I now have this API key, and then I've seen, if I go to content, that it's kind of giving me some instructions on how to add this MCP server. If I scroll down here, I see I have some instructions on running on Cursor, and what it says is that I need to go to MCP servers, add new MCP server, and then it tells me I need to use this Firecrawl MCP and this command. However, that's not what it looks like inside of Cursor for me. Right now, I just have this JSON file. Like I don't have this pop-up in order to add this MCP server. So what should I do? Well, if I scroll down a little bit, I see that I get a command that looks something like this. It says if you're using Windows and running into issues, try command/C set Firecrawl API key like this, okay? So I'm gonna copy this command, and what I'm gonna do is go back into Cursor, and I'm gonna show you how to manually add this entry. So the way that this works is you write a set of braces, you write MCP servers like that, okay? I'm just gonna put this in by default, so that you have kind of like a list of MCP servers. Then inside of the MPC servers, you write a name for your server. So in my case, I'm just gonna call this Firecrawl, okay? Then you put a colon, then you put another set of braces, and then inside of here, you have a few different options. However, you can see it's actually giving me the autocomplete because I had this previously. What you're gonna do is type command, colon, and then you just paste the MCP command, okay? So I'm gonna paste it like that, and this is what it looks like. Now you'll notice that I have an extra set of quotes, so I'm just gonna remove these set of quotes because I believe that we don't need those, and then we're gonna paste our Firecrawl API key right here. That's literally all that you need to do. So again, I found this from the link in the description. I'll show you the command, and what's gonna happen is Cursor will just automatically run this command for you. It's actually gonna open a new terminal, and it's gonna start running a server that has this Firecrawl MCP running, okay? It's running locally on your own computer. And then you're gonna be using this API key to communicate with the Firecrawl servers that will then be able to go and kind of scrape the internet. I know for any non-developers, this might look a little bit confusing. I'm just trying to explain what's going on so that you can use some critical thinking later to install other MCP servers. Now, you're gonna see that this starts with command/C. If you're on Windows, you need this, okay? A lot of times it's not gonna tell you to add this command/C, but all of your commands need to start with this if you're on Windows. If you're not on Windows, then you would remove that. You could leave this same set thing and have this command right here. But if you're on Windows, you need this command/C so that it's gonna run this in a separate terminal. What I'm gonna do, and you can see when I run this, it actually opens up a new terminal when I save this, is it starts running this process in the background. Now, I'm gonna close this for right now. I'm gonna go and put my Firecrawl API key here, and then I'm gonna show you how this works, and then we'll add some other MCP servers that will be a bit more simple. Okay, so I added the API key, and then I just closed that tab, and you can see now when I go back to MCP servers, it shows me Firecrawl, and then it says this is the command, and it shows me that it's running. Now I can refresh this, and when I refresh this, it will just run this again, and when it runs it, we should see that we now get a list of tools if the command was being executed successfully. Now again, if you want to copy the exact command on Windows, it is this, okay? Again, it was, if we go back here, you can see what it looks like right here. I'm gonna blur out the API key, but you guys get the idea. And then on Mac, remove this command/C, same thing on Linux. And quick note, if you're getting something like client not connected, just close cursor and just reopen it. Okay, so I reloaded it here, and you can see now by default, it's gonna spin up this terminal. Leave this running, don't close it, and now you should see that you get connected and you don't have that error. That's a common thing that I was experiencing. Anyways, now that we've got that open, what we're gonna do is make sure we go to agent mode inside of our cursor composer, and we can ask it something like, look up Tech with Tim on Google. And when we do that, it should know that it can use this Firecrawl tool because it has access to all of these various tools, and it will go ahead and do that. Now it says no tool match the tall MCP server, Firecrawl. Okay, and then it says there seems to be an issue with the tool. Let me try a different approach. And then it finds this Firecrawl search. Okay, so I go ahead and press run, and then you can see what it calls it with. So it, searches Tech with Tim, limit 5, gets these URLs, and then gives me the result. Okay, so we can just go ahead and use that tool, and now you can use that inside of your cursor editor, which is kind of insane. Let me show you how to add a few other MCP servers. So let's go here, let's get out of Firecrawl, and let's go to Smithery, and let's add the sequential thinking one. Okay, now it's a little bit easier from Smithery. Again, I'll leave this link in the description. And what we can do is just press on this cursor tab here. And notice that I've also created an account, and I've just signed into Smithery because they're forcing you to sign in essentially to be able to get these install commands. Okay, so this page loaded now, and you can see that we have a few different options for installation. Now you can just run the commands that it shows you right here, and it should actually just install itself inside of Cursor for you. So you can see based on the different version of Cursor, there's a command that you can run. So we have this command, this one right here. Or if we want, we can do the manual installation like I showed you already, where we copy this as JSON and just put it inside of the, the config file. Okay, now I'm not going to do that because we've kind of already looked at how to manually add this. What I'm going to do though is show you how we add another more random MCP server. So for example, I found this MCP server. Only has 27 stars, some random guy made this, but it does actually work. And you can see that it tells us exactly how to get this running. He has here the config. So it just says, okay, MongoDB. I don't know why he named it MongoDB, but that's what he named it. Has the command npx, then the arguments coincap mcd. This one doesn't require any kind of API key. So all I'm going to do is just copy this config. Again, I found this from some awesome MCP servers directory. I'll link it in the description. I want to go back to MCP servers. I'm going to go add global MCP server. I'm going to go here. I'm going to rename this to say coincap like that. Okay. And then I'm going to close this, and it says client closed. Okay, that's fine. The reason it's not working is because I'm on Windows and I forgot to add the command/C. So what I can do is command/C npx. Okay, copy that. You can see now that this is running. We have it running in the terminal. And if we go back to cursor settings, nothing's showing up, but we get the tools. So we can refresh this. Okay, all good. And now you can see that this is running. And if I come here, I can say, what is the price of BTC? And let's see if it can look it up and give me the answer. Just wait 1 second here. Ideally, it should use the tool. And there you go, we get the price of Bitcoin, and then we can keep using this tool, as much as we want. And by the way, if you don't want to have to press accept on all of these, because it's using the tool, you have to keep pressing accept if it uses multiple tools and stuff, you can, if you want to be risky, go into cursor settings, you can go into features, you can scroll all the way down to YOLO mode, which I think is right here. Yes, enable auto run mode. Okay, they've changed the name of it to auto run mode, but it used to be called YOLO mode a second ago. and you can enable this. And when you do that, now it will just allow the agent to call any commands or use any of the tools that you have. Now you can actually add some stuff here. So for example, you can make sure it doesn't delete any files. You can have a command deny list and an allow list and a prompt telling it like what it's allowed to actually be doing. I would suggest filling in these details. Personally, I don't run with this on, but if you want the agent to just like be able to go and do everything and you don't even need to watch it and it can just call any tool that it wants and do anything at all, then of course you can enable auto run mode. All right, guys. That's pretty much going to wrap it up. I know there was a lot of content there, but I wanted this to be thorough and explain what MCP is, how it works, how to set it up in Cursor, and how to get over some of the issues that I personally was facing. If you want to see me build my own custom MCP server and do a tutorial on that, then please let me know in the comments down below, and I look forward to seeing you in another video.